Hi, my name is Matt Newsom. I've been doing Node.js training seminars lately through my company, Techers, and I've noticed a problem when people create Express apps. They get very overwhelmed with all of the things they need to learn right out of the gate. After doing this a few times and helping numerous people, I've realized that I think I can make things easier for new users and for experienced users alike. We can get the typical Express.js app to be far simpler without having to sacrifice the power and flexibility. Because of that, I've created a module called Express Easy that is here on npm.js. What Express Easy does is it simplifies the creation of new Express.js apps that adhere to best practices, and they have 80% less code than a standard Express app, and they come pre-configured to facilitate TDD, and they have HTML-based templates. Now, the reason why I did this is I found that for a lot of applications, you really don't have to change that app.js file too much. You might add some things to it, but you really don't ever get rid of anything from there. And because of that, many of the simplest apps really just look the same in app.js except for the routes. Furthermore, the default project created with the express generator command really produces routes that are hard to test. And so you're stuck with all of this configuration code, and getting started on testing it just is very frustrating and difficult. And then finally, the default template engine that you get with Express when you use the Express generator command is Jade, which is a fine template language. I've got nothing against Jade, but it's not HTML. And a lot of people, when they come to create their first Node.js app, they want to learn Node.js. They don't want to learn a replacement for HTML. So I've created this, it's somewhat opinionated framework. Right now it supports Handlebars out of the box, but I will add support Jade if the community is interested in it. And what I've done is I've created this very first proof of concept version. Now, this is not stable yet. This is just something that I would like to toss out there for the community to give me some feedback. Does this solve a problem that you actually have? And if so, what are some ways that we can solve this problem in a sensible manner? Here's kind of what I have planned. Right now is just kind of this untested proof of concept, and we're at this point where we have something that actually works, and so I'm going to show that to you in just a minute. You're going to be able to create a new Express.js app in about 30 seconds with about 5 lines of code, and you're going to love it. And so if this is something that has potential, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it apart into modules, and I'm going to make sure it's all unit tested, because I think that's important. I don't want to set a bad example by creating a tool that lets you create projects that are supposed to follow good examples. And then, we'll improve the command line utility, add database support. And my goal is so that you can just essentially create a configuration object or set a .env file that says, okay, here's my session key. And if the session key exists, well, then session support is turned on. Here's my database connection credentials. Oh, if database connection credentials are provided, then guess what? The database connection is automatically made for you. So this is something that I like to do, and I'd like to get your feedback on it. I'm going to show you how it works. First of all, I've already done this step, but if you want to use it, you can do this now. As I write this, I am on version 0.1.3, which I just updated today, which is mostly a documentation and code cleanup release. npm install -g, because you want to install this globally, because it's a command line utility, Express Easy Generator. And what this will do is it'll give you a very simple command line tool that you can use to create a project. And we're going to do that now. So in the terminal, I've already installed Express Easy Generator. So I type Express Easy, and then I type the name of my project. And it does it. And you'll see here the instructions are meant to be very simple to follow. This is not that much different than the Express Generator command. As a matter of fact, I forked their code and used it as a foundation for mine. We're going to cd into the name of our project. We're going to type npm install, which I'll do in a second. If we want to start the app, we can write npm start. And if we want to run the tests, we can run npm test. And yes, your new project does come pre-configured with a suite of tests. Let's do the install first, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, that's it. Now we go into we can run npm test, and you'll see that we have a home route. That test passes. We should call res.render. That test passes. We should have a data method, which works, and we should call res.json. Now if we type npm start, it'll tell us This is where we go. By the way, that's another thing that a lot of people get confused about with Express Generator built apps. And yes, it's that easy. One of the things a lot of people are doing with Node.js and Express apps these days is they're creating applications that use client-side MVC libraries in order to fetch data from the server. So by default, the built-in application has a URL that will send you data. So if we could click load some data, it'll make an AJAX request. I'll show you the JavaScript console so that you can see it work. And there it grabs the data using AJAX and injects it into the page as some links. All right, now let's look at the code. All right, and this is our file here. Oh, I lied, it's 6 lines of code. We have require express easy, and you'll see that this is self-executing. And what you get back is the exact same thing that you would have got back if you just initialize a new app. We have a routes file. I'll show you that in just a moment. And then here, we're not going to do this. We're just going to do it all in one file. This is just kind of like Django does with its urls.py file. We'll just make it real simple. You add a URL, you call the send the callback in. Then we have to run this enable routing command, and then we export our module. So let's look at our routes file. You'll see here we're going to export a home route that is pretty simple. Res.render. This is just like you're used to. Yes, it's that easy. And then here is our data URL that returns JSON. Really nothing too exciting there. And that's it. We have a package JSON, which has one dependency, express easy, and then some dev dependencies for running the tests. Let's look at those tests. All right, we're using sign-on for mocking, chai and expect, the chai expect library for our tests. So here we go. We're going to describe a test suite. Before each, we're going to set up a mock request and response object. Now expect routes.home to exist. Pretty simple. This file. Now we should see the second test fail. The first one will pass because the module does exist. It should call res.render, and it does not. This should see the fourth test fail. Sure enough. Again, not rocket science. I think that we can make it much easier to build Express.js apps. Now let's actually do a traditional app created with the Express Generator command and see how it compares. All right, let's go back and start with the app.js file. Here we have 6 lines of code. Here we have 60 lines of code. What do we have? We've got the express requirement, we've got the path, favicon, logger, cookie parser, body parser. We require some routes. Let's look at our routes file. You'll see, again, it's not that complicated once you're in the routes file, but if we look at the routes here, first of all, we're doing the export right here, which is just a little bit easier for people to understand, I found, rather than exporting everything at the bottom. If you we can just do it like this. Same thing, easier to understand. Also, too, we don't need this here in the file. When we do router.get, it makes this code harder to test. And so we extract this out. And now, if we get this out of this file and put it over here, then we've got something that's a lot easier to test. What else do we have in here? We've got app.set views. Here we've got the Jade template engine. Over here, we've got handlebars. Again, Jade is just fine. It's nothing wrong against Jade. It's just one more thing for people to learn. I think it's got a very pretty and elegant syntax, but people are used to HTML, and so let's just lower the barriers to learning. So I think that's a good overview. What I'd like you to do is, if you don't mind, try it out and test it. check out the code, look at the code. Right now it looks bad. It's messy, and that's okay. It's not going to last that way. But really what I want to know is, what are the modules that you use most when you create a new project? What kinds of things would you like to do with it? How would you like to organize your code? Do you like to keep all of your URLs in one place like this? Or do you like to have your app.use statement in one place and then your route definitions in another? I'd really like to know how you like to do that. What are some ways that we can modularize this code? If you don't mind telling me, if you go back to the npm.js website, you can look for Express Easy, and then right over here is a link to the GitHub page. You can create an issue and let me know what it is you'd like to see, what it is you like, what it is you don't like about all of the features that you've seen in Express Easy. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope to hear from you.